us the unsung, unseen, difficult, and often dangerous tasks that keep our country running. Dad Arthur Stewart and his son John join us now. Good morning to both of you. Glad to have you with us this morning, and glad to be focusing on a small business that operates behind the scenes to keep America running. What Mike Rowe wants to focus on. Tell us what Cameron Energy does.
Well, first, good morning, Will. Thanks for having us on. We've seen Mike Rowe do a bunch of these interviews. We figured, how hard could it be? The show itself really is quite unique. It shows things that you wouldn't get to see unless you came out into the woods with us. So short of that, which you're welcome to do anytime, Will, short of that, having the cameras out there, you're not going to see this anywhere else on TV. They were putting cameras absolutely everywhere. I don't think it's studio policy, but one of the film crew guys said it's not a real shoot unless we break a GoPro, and they tried pretty damn hard.
Well, I see on the program folks drilling new wells. We're going to have well tender out there. Larry Fall, our roustabout. He can fix anything, and sure enough, he has to fix a lot of things on the show.
They call him roughnecks.
Pretty much the things that happen every day. They filmed it all.
Yeah. It's just our normal.
I watched Armageddon. I'm an expert.
Dramatic enough without having to contrive anything. It's just going to be honest, good, hard work.
I may take you guys up on that. I'm not just go out in the field with you. I'd love to see some stuff.
Hey,
but what I love about
stay away from young women.
The story of oil and gas is really
boss might get you.
It's you cannot separate it from the story of America, and it's not it's not big oil, it's not big gas, it's not Exxon, it's wildcatters, it's risk takers, it's people drilling holes in the ground looking for fortune and looking how to put this.
Yeah, but what hope do they have in this Biden government?
This is a small company, your company. It shows us, really takes us back to the start of this entire industry.
Mike Rowe has a great line. He says that oil is the lifeblood of mining. He gets it so right. You can't touch anything today that's not made of oil. We're in the middle of COVID.
Well, it's about our sovereignty that Biden wants to put in peril. Our sovereignty, our oil sovereignty, our energy sovereignty.
95% of the world's transportation is powered by oil, and that's not getting less. We are growing our oil consumption every year by 1 million barrels a day, more this year than last year. So,
and you're absolutely right, Will. This is where it all started. We're in Western Pennsylvania. In 1859, the Drake well was the first successful oil well drilled anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
literally the well that saved whales from being hunted to extinction for their oil.
Right.
And these are the same fields that we're working in.
Well, it's something that the Democrats have worked so hard to strangle oil, but they have the Republicans haven't really worked hard to strangle abortion.
This episode, your episode, Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Arthur, John, thank you so much for your time this morning. More Fox and Friends coming up in just moments.
As far as I'm upset about the border. You have the fires. The terrorists come overseas or over the border, Mexican-American border, go out like random fires all across America. How many lives did they take? They add them up. How many people have infected Americans with the Rona or other diseases, for that matter, other viruses and things that we really don't know about that hasn't hit the eye of the public? How many diseases and that have they killed, people coming from overseas and killing Americans? And we have the drug problem, fentanyl. There's thousands a week, whatever, that are ODing because of fentanyl coming over our borders. You just added up all the kids, that are at risk. You bring tons of kids in, and men are tempted. Lonely men, and they're the villain or not, whatever your thing is. But if the kids aren't here, they're not getting molested. If they don't have records of them, right? If little kids come over from the Northern Triangle, they don't have a license with them. They don't have fingerprints with them. They don't have a birth certificate with them. They have no paperwork. So some guy at the border, some guy picks them up and puts them in his basement. How do we know? Keeps them in there for a decade. And who knows what he does with them, you know? They're not even thinking about children. They act like, you know, the Me Too movement, we're all about women and children, go women power, this and that. And what Biden still does not want to reverse his reversal of the Trump era, that you have to go to the first country to claim asylum. So that therefore allows children, little girls, to go hundreds and thousands upon thousands of miles through other countries to get to America to claim asylum, only to be in peril of being raped on the way here. I mean, I'm sure there's probably thousands upon thousands of cases of little girls being raped simply because of the Biden change of asylum laws. And that's something, man. You know, and then you get you get Biden going after the people protecting us, border patrol. How dare they use the horse reins to whip somebody that could burn down a whole forest and cause CO2 emissions to go sky high because all the fires and adding to the CO2, and are going to take away our kids' lives in 9 years. They have no future because CO2 emissions, and they're out burning forests that normally will be taking CO2 out of the atmosphere. But yeah, they add it to the CO2 emissions to our atmosphere. And Biden don't give a shit about what he proclaims to be for. If he really did, would he, just on that issue alone, wouldn't he want to close the borders, to build the border wall, so therefore forests aren't burnt down? Seeing Mercy ships. I see that cleft lip. I was with a Smile Train. I give it once or twice. I give them money, $50 or something. I thought it was a good. I thought it was so beautiful to give a beautiful smile to poor people overseas. You know, to use their gift of their surgical hands and their know-how to give a beautiful smile to poor families overseas. I thought that's pretty cool. A Smile Train, and that one was Mercy Ship. Good work, good work.
Welcome back. It is Fox and Friends, 7 a.m. in the morning here on Eastern Time, and that's the Proclaimers. Holly, that's we're gonna walk.
I would walk
500 miles. Yes, I remember that song. I'm sorry, I can't see that part.
I love it.
I'm
not making it up. I love it. As a kid, yes. Yeah. Played it on a loop. You know, you put your CD on repeat.
That's a guy that fell in love. He's talking about I'll walk 500 mile hours. He'll walk through fire for what he just found. He found love and he wants to.
Early 90s.
Suffer to keep it. I guess he's
like
saying I'll get married.
A real hard transition for
Go suffer.
Country music right about that time. If you'd asked me like 88, it would have been the music we were hearing earlier, Crisscross, Make You Jump. And then I would have transitioned into Garth Brooks. It was real Brooks and Dunn. Or you too. Brooks and Dunn. I went through a solid Brooks and Dunn about that point. My stepsisters went to see Brooks and Dunn this week in Dallas. Really? They're still going? Oh, they're going. They had Travis Tritt opening up for them.
Travis Tritt? Wow.
It's a great concert. Yes.
Awesome.
Shout out to Neon Moon.
Oh, I love that.
It's a great song,
right.
Isn't it?
Well, we got to get to the border. Where you're from.
We've all been to the border, right? You've been to the border.
Yeah, and there's a lot.
Been to the border. I know you've been to the border.
I'm going to go back to the border probably this coming month, and there's a lot of action. And Peter Ducey, by the way, has been on this story and really making the White House very
talk about Neon Moon. I
Jen Psaki on why
seen. I went out
to will not go to the border.
Jet's Pizza outside. I seen the moon race through the sky. So the moon was running through the sky from me.
What impact do you think that would have on the policies?
Why doesn't he want to go?
I don't think it's an issue of wanting to go. I think it's an issue of what's most constructive to address what we see as a challenging situation at the border and a broken immigration system.
Why is this the one crisis then that he thinks he can manage better
for a year without having seen it than going to the southern border.
I can assure you the president is well aware of what the challenges are in our broken immigration system, something he watched closely over the last.
Well, if it's broken, why don't he fix it? He's in charge.
When they keep saying broken immigration system.
He keeps saying broken. Okay, well, fix it.
To get into our country,
My
and
God.
properly and legally, who are really ticked off that these people get to come in without following the law.
Yeah, we have terrorists coming through. We have probably suitcase nuclear bombs coming through. We have drugs and fit child porn stars. And what the hell's going on with you guys?
Yeah, there's a lot to upset you in that clip right there. First of all, I think Jen Psaki's tone towards Peter Doocy is unacceptable because it's a perfectly legitimate question, and she acts like it's absurd.
Yeah, what's up with Psaki?
Hasn't visited physically.
Maybe she's
the place, the source
drinking too much or something.
Expand it beyond obviously what's taking place in front of our eyes to the broken immigration system. A good follow-up, by the way, and is what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
What is the broken immigration system? Please describe that for me.
Well, they're trying to imply that it was someone else's problem, right? That they inherited it and there's nothing they can do about it, which is total garbage. Joe Biden is an almost octogenarian. All right. He's been in government longer than we've been alive.
True.
He has never been to the southern border ever. That was the third time Peter Doocy had asked that question. The White House said, we'll get back to you. Never, ever, ever. Even before he was a senator, has he visited the southern border? Not once. So he's saying,
why don't you have Ted Cruz on? Wouldn't that be Ted Cruz on?
Hurricane disasters or flood zones. He's been to Iraq and Afghanistan like a dozen times because you got to see.
He had a little summation about it. It was interesting.
The southern border, a system that they acknowledge at this point, they believe is fundamentally broken, but you don't want to see it one time, and then you're going to condemn some guy on horseback because he's doing his job. That's the absolute and utter disconnectedness. They don't care. We know they don't care. They want to not care. They want it to be open. We get it. It's deliberate. But still, I mean, keep asking that question.
But there are real American citizens who live along that border or live even 200 miles from that border.
How did my Justin Trudeau socks go?
And they're really sick and tired of people in Washington,
cold.
D.C. who think they can manage this or not manage it from Washington, D.C.
The hell
and it has a real impact on how they get health care, on what kind of services are available in their town, with the crime in their town. This is a huge problem. Representative Crenshaw, who is from Texas, Dan Crenshaw, says that the problem is that they've undone every single Trump-era policy that the people living at the border know was actually working to make their lives better. Take a listen.
It seems like the only people he wants to hold accountable for the mess at the border is his own border agents for doing their job. He put them in this position. And then he lies about what they're doing. He lies about their actions. You can't imagine a worse leader right now. If you're trying to get a mass exodus from the Border Patrol, if you're trying to get them to quit and lose morale, then this is a great way to do it. You know who else isn't held accountable? All the people illegally crossing our border. All the unvaccinated, all the people with COVID, all the people infiltrating our country and lying about their asylum claims. They're not held accountable. But Biden doesn't care about that. Look, and we have to stop pretending like this is incompetence. This isn't incompetence. They're doing this on purpose.
He's absolutely right. They're doing this on purpose. I saw someone on social media say, here's the appropriate analogy. This is an arsonist setting fire to a house, then blaming the firefighters for creating the fire. But I would just add to what Congressman Crenshaw had to say there, it would be also building it upon a lie. So saying the firefighters that show up with those fire hoses are actually spraying gasoline on the house. You know they're not. Everyone involved knows they're not. You know that wasn't a whip. You know they weren't whipping migrants. So why are you continuing to tell the lie? It's not incompetence. It's an agenda.
Is it going to catch up, though? Is it going to catch up to them? I mean, because they're telling us that what we're seeing is not happening.
Tell me how it catches up when, we looked into the Biden not going to the border. Fox News did. They found one thing from 2014. Joe Biden took a trip to Guatemala in 2014. And you know what he talked about in 2014? Root causes. No, and why does it not catch up to them? Because they use the same BS catchphrases over and over again, like they're going to address a problem they don't want to address. It doesn't catch up because no one ever holds them to account for it. So now Kamala Harris is on The View instead of actually addressing real causes, but she talks about root causes.
Now I am excited.
Instead of talking about the open border,
I have
talking about America being
my old.
And our law
I bought tons of editing equipment and
an assault on a
cameras and editing software, Power Director, and
confirming the incident
Adobe
reported at the Donna
Premiere
Ana complex in
Elements.
New Mexico
Oh, it's
earlier this
old,
week.
Alexander
but
joins us live with the latest on
14.
Alexander.
But I finally found the code that was it. Someone poured some liquid on it, and it was. I pried it off. Anyway, I got the code. It didn't. I want to try to use it. I'll talk to y'all later.